The world #1 male tennis player Novak Djokovic has spoken for the first time since being detained in Australia. Djokovic is waiting to challenge the decision to deny him entry to the country under strict COVID-19 regulations. Let's head over to Matthew in the Cube for more.
This was the message posted on Instagram by Novak Djokovic, the Serbian tennis player, saying thank you to the people around the world for your continuous support. I can feel it and it is greatly appreciated. But Djokovic here providing no further details about his condition or his situation, as on Orthodox Christmas he continues to remain at a Melbourne immigration detention hotel. Let's just rewind though. The 34-year-old was denied entry by Australian border authorities on Wednesday. Under the country's strict COVID-19 rules, anyone trying to enter Australia must have had 2 doses of a COVID-19 jab or a genuine medical exemption. Djokovic has previously voiced his opposition to vaccines and has not said whether he had a vaccine. However, he was initially granted an undisclosed exemption by 2 authorities. But upon landing in Australia, he was told by border authorities that he had failed to provide the appropriate evidence. And he has since been confined, his visa cancelled, and he is awaiting a court decision on his deportation. Unsurprisingly, this situation has gone down poorly on his native Serbia, with even the country's president, Alexander Vučić, getting involved online. But at the same time, in Australia, you have rumours that this is a political situation, with Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, who is seeking re-election in March, initially having no issue with Djokovic's exemption, but then later praising border authorities for denying him entry, saying on Twitter that no one is above the rules. But as Djokovic now awaits this hotel deportation court decision on Monday, he is not alone, as we also have 2 other medical exemptions that are being investigated, including a Czech tennis player, Renata Verachova.
Thank you, Matthew. Well, for more on this, let's cross over to Michael Kern in London. So, Michael, only 10 days to go till the first Grand Slam of the season, and no one is talking about the tennis. So how quickly does the Australian Open need this to be sorted?
Incredibly quickly. As Matthew just said, of course, Novak is waiting on the court decision. The federal court hearing is in Melbourne, is on Monday. And here, Novak's legal team are obviously busy working on that. They've also discovered that it's emerged that there are 3 other players that have been admitted to the country using that same exemption already. And of course, as we mentioned as well, a couple of other players as well. Renata Verachova, of course, involved in this one as well. But no one's talking about the tennis. You know, everyone's talking about this, and it's a very contentious issue because we know that Australia has had one of the tightest and strictest lockdowns during the COVID period. So if you're someone that lives in Australia and you've not been able to travel between states, you've not been able to see family, and then you see an international sports star come into your country and being allowed to have a little bit of an exemption from those rules, that's going to create a little bit of animosity towards that. But as you can kind of see, there's a lot of support for Novak as well from lots of his fans outside that quarantine hotel where he is at the moment.
And how about the other players who are preparing for the tournament? How have they reacted?
So Rafael Nadal has come out today and he's effectively backed up, saying, look, it's normal for people in Australia to be frustrated because of what they've gone through. Nick Kyrgios has come out and said that the situation is being handled, looks really bad, and went on to say that Novak's one of the greatest players to have, but at the end of the day, he's human, we must do better. And Marian Cilic also came out a little bit earlier on as well, saying that it's not a good look for the sport. And with, like you said, with 10 days to go into the start to this first big Grand Slam of the year, all the eyes and all the conversation should be about the tennis, and about those players who are going to be participating for a fantastic sporting event.
So we have the French Open Grand Slam next, but other tournaments in between. Vaccine status looking likely to be a requirement for entry to most countries. How is this going to affect the tour?
Well, I think, like you just said, different countries are, of course, going to have different restrictions to go in and out. Positive news from a Djokovic point of view from France, of course, say that next Open is in May. And France's sports minister has said that he would be able to compete at Roland Garros this year without having had the vaccine. So obviously, as you go to different competitions, we saw Wimbledon last year. There were different requirements to come into the United Kingdom. But hopefully, as we get towards May and June, you never know what's going to happen with COVID-19. We fingers crossed that we're going to kind of see COVID slowly disappearing, which would be lovely for the whole world. But I think as we go to different countries, it's going to depend on the status of COVID in their countries. And again, as we've said, the next one is in May. A little bit of time to go to that yet, but at the moment it looks like France sports minister saying that you wouldn't need a vaccine to be able to compete at the French Open.